life that you deserve to live with a strong man like I used to be, not with a handicap. I was at the lowest point in my life and basically lost hope. I thought to myself, God, why at the age of 24 I must live with no hands now? Why I should suffer? And how should I conquer my pain and rise again? I needed a strong reason.
הוא לא רוצה שאני אראה אותו מתייסר. מאוד חשוב לו לראות לעיניי כגיבור תמיד. אני מבינה אותו. הייתי יותר שלווה, יותר עסוקה בעצמי במחלה הקשה שלי. המחלה התפרצה לי מאוד חזק. ואני מקווה שאני אנצח בשביל הילד שלי, לראות אותו מחלים. אני לא רוצה למות בלי לראות אותו מחלים. הוא אכל?
Just like me, my mother was also fighting. She was fighting a war against cancer. And all throughout my life, my mother was my role model when it comes to facing challenges. I felt like she was fighting with superhuman powers just to see me stand up on my feet again. I wanted to prove in that point to my mother that I could return to be the person that I used to be, that a strong spirit can take any kind of challenge. Unfortunately, my mother passed away after 80 years of courageous battle with cancer. Even though she isn't here physically, I decided in that point that I saw that video and heard those words, I don't want to die without seeing him getting better, that I'm going to do everything in my power to fulfill her last wish. And I progressed, step by step towards building my new life. Slowly I learned simple things like eating, dressing, walking, taking showers, trained from the beginning, and it wasn't easy as before, but I found creative solution for every challenge. I found a way to drive again, to write, to cook, and even found few advantages in my current situation. I can assure you that I am probably the only one in this crowd that can flip burgers with his own hand without getting burned. So there are few advantages. After 12 months, I was released from the hospital and finally started my life outside of it. And in that point, I had two options: to stay dependent on my family to the rest of my life, or to take the hard choice and try to adapt myself to the new reality outside of the rehabilitation center. And I can tell you that it wasn't so simple. What I decided to do is to start my new life in the most normal place that I can, not in a handicapped and disabled environment. So I began my study for my degree, majoring in law, which I, by the way, graduated something like 2 years ago. And during the course of my study, I had an amazing process. I had first moments of success, first moment of understand that I can do things that bigger than just getting dressed and walking. And in some point, I understood that it's all a matter of a choice. And in that point, I decided to redefine the term impossible. From a point in my life that I couldn't even walk 2 steps, I completed 3 marathons run. The first one was in Berlin, in most symbolic way for every Jew around the war, I think. I won my war over there as a wounded combat Israeli soldier. After I finished and accomplished 3 marathons, I went one step further and was one of the only ones that finished the Ironman competition with no 2 functional hands. Above that, I can tell you that when I had enough confidence, I also did this, got married. Believe it or not, to the same woman I asked to live with. The only one that never left, and until today, she is the rock of my life. By the way, I proposed Adi in front of 4,000 people on the stage in United States. It was my only insurance policy that she will not say no. And she said yes. And we started our new life together. And I can tell you that on top of it, regarding to what we are doing here today, I began a journey, searching for a way to assist people in my condition to integrate into society, in both work and leisure. The first step I took was in academia. I launched a program to accompany and provide support to wounded soldiers like me, all the way from rehabilitation to university, providing them the necessary toolkit that will help them start in the same starting point as their peers, who do not have mental or physical disability. This program had impact outside of Israel and now being implemented in several universities in the US. Beyond the daily tasks, including things like getting dressed and eating, I realized over time that the tech world, surprisingly, is missing the solution needed to enable people like myself to operate smart devices successfully. Even in rehabilitation centers that should be accessible, most of the technologies, and remote control in particular, are based on a solution that made for the average consumer. I wanted to make myself very clear. And Yaron here will excuse me. Guys, I hate buttons. Any kind of buttons. I replaced all the buttons of my pants to Velcros, you see? I replaced the buttons of my shirt to magnets, but I couldn't find a way to replace the buttons in my Xbox controller. And this is the way I got in touch with the amazing Yaron Garlitsky, just was here on the stage and told you about this amazing thing that he's doing. And beyond that connection, I can tell you that I also found Miri and Arya, my partners at 6 Degrees, who share the same passion and vision, and who too realize that it's simply impossible that in the age that we are in, an entire population is still being excluded when it comes to the ability to operate computers, cell phones, or game consoles. We created in 6 Degrees a motion-based technology who takes individual motion into commands on any smart device, allowing people with disabilities, especially fine motor skills disabilities, to replace the need of using buttons. Our wearable device will learn the way this individual moves, adapt itself to him, and use movement that he can do to control. Using smart AI classification, it will filter out tremors and read limited motion as a full range on the screen without using any other reference point. I think that the Xbox Adaptive Controller is revolutionary and groundbreaking, not only because of the technology, the amazing technology and the functional adaptations, but because it makes an important statement. We will never design a product like we did before, like Yaron said, especially when coming from tech giants like Microsoft. In an era of personal customization, how can it be that entire population experiences no progress whatsoever in the 30 last years, in terms of controlling gadgets? When we begin exploring that topic, we realize that, first, there are dozens of different kinds of disabilities, from total paralysis to a broken toe. Second, rehabilitation process is long process and specific one, that unlike medication-based solution, is entirely dependent on the patient motivation. Third, the results of rehab are not life-saving and providing only upgrading the quality of life. From my point of view, these facts have led to higher investments in the fields of pharmaceuticals and investigative care. This has become widely accepted that things that don't relate directly to rehabilitation is more investable. Assistive tech and rehabilitation solutions were mostly launched as private ventures by wealthy investors who had an emotional connection within that field that they will invest on. Even when we saw innovation from big companies within that field, they choose to stick with sustaining innovation, preserving more traditional approach instead of disruptive innovation. Thank you. Delivering what Professor Clayton Christensen defined as breakthrough in the industry. I think that there are 3 factors which are going to change the rules in the current area. First, non-profits such Tikkun Olam and health centers like Alin Hospital that raise awareness and encourage innovation through hackathons, conference, and many other supporters. 2, big companies who now understand the vast financial advantages of introducing new product into these untapped user data segments. In addition, this act, like Microsoft did, greatly benefits those large firms' public image. As a result, players in the markets are now making moves like integrate people with disabilities more desirable, opening a new pathway for diverse technologies designed for specific targets and audience, and will eventually change the way we think. 3, technology itself has developed in such a way that different fields of AI provide higher product and software versatility and adaptation for a larger variety of users. For example, at 6 degrees, automatic classification, learning and forecasting processes allow for precise and self-improving results, so that one product will actually fits and suits dozens of movement disabilities. There is no doubt that the development in the industry will take time, and time equals money. But just think of how fortunate we are to be in that generation that will take those barriers and just break it. That will allow people battling with Parkinson to paint, amputees to become architects, and disabled children to play Fortnite with their friends. Also, my experience as an entrepreneur had taught me that those that seek only profit will have limits. Those who seek for meaning will change the world. You probably ask, why was this journey of helping and doing was so important for me? I want to tell you a short story about somebody that was an inspiration for me. This guy, Dr. Felix Zandman, a Holocaust survivor, a genius physicist, and one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the last century. He said, people can take everything from you. They can take the money from your bank. They can take your real estate. They can take even part of your soul. There is only one thing no one can take from you: what you gave to others. It was the idea of lifting others that helped me lift myself. And I truly believe that giving in any way is a great gift. And I chose to make the most of that gift every single day. Above all, the greatest gift I received during the battle of my life was this incredible moment. אני אבא.
שתי ידיים, פחות שתי ידיים, מה זה משנה? כל עוד אני רואה, חי, נושם, יש לי את האוצר הזה בידיים. בשביל זה נלחמתי, לא? מדהים, דומה לה, שתראה
This is Shira, my little angel. And like you see in the picture, Shira was born albino. It means that her body cannot produce melanin, which causes lack of pigmentation. Her hair is white, her skin is pale, and the biggest problem is that it comes with very hard eyesight problem and disabilities. And to be honest, in that moment, my first thought was about the future. I knew that there will come a time that my daughter will come home from school crying because some kids were mean to her. It will happen, and like every parent who sees his child suffering, it will hurt. I thought to myself, God, after everything we went through in the past 3 years, can't we get something good without an extra challenge? And that was my feeling for a very long time. But I want to tell you that today, especially thanks to processes that we are talking about today, I know that Shira is my biggest gift. And I also know that from a personal point of view, if there is any chance that my life journey in the past 6 years provide me with the ability to guide her how to turn the impossible to sustainable reality, so I won my word twice, as a person and as a father. And there is one sentence that Shira will hear from me every morning when she wakes up and every night before she goes to sleep. Great people are dealing with great things. Great people are dealing with great things. Great people don't let their small disabilities or challenges or fears to define who they are. Yes, it takes me about 45 minutes today to close the buttons of my pants. So like you saw, I replaced it with Velcros. And yes, I needed Yaron to create a special adaptive controller for me just for letting me play an Xbox. And yes, my wife does help me to tie my shoes from time to time, but these are small things. Today I'm proving to my daughter that when you conquer the highest mountain, nobody will remember the small hills you struggle to pass. About those small hills, there is something small that I will probably won't be able to do again. So I will ask you today to help me with it. Do you know what it is? Just to clap my hands. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you everybody for coming to the prevention rehabilitation track. We hope that we have provided you with some food for thought and ideas for collaboration with us, with yourselves, no matter age, gender, ability. We hope to see you again.
Well, it was amazing because I thought about moving my arm, and it did. I could move it in and out, up and down.
We've been able to take the electrical signals which represent his thoughts and use that to control stimulation of his arm and his hand.
We've bridged his spinal cord injury. He can now think about moving his arm, and his arm moves.
And it's pretty cool. I get to be the first one in the world to do it.
He has a severe spinal cord injury. He is pretty much paralyzed from the top of his shoulders down.
I remember up to the accident, and then after that I remember bits and pieces. I was on a 150-mile bicycle ride. It was raining really badly. I was following a mail truck, and I was keeping my distance pretty good. But then it stopped to deliver a package. I ran right into the back of the mail truck. People have to do stuff for me that I can't do myself. They have to turn me every 2 hours. If I want water, they have to give me water. This research has enhanced my ability to be able to do things.
For the first time, we've implanted brain recording electrodes in a person, and an FES system, functional electrical stimulation, has been implanted as well.
I learned about this research through one of the doctors at the VA. My father said, "Do you really want to do this?" I said, "Yes. Somebody has to do research. If nobody does research, things don't get done." Now we can tell the world it's possible to reconnect the brain and make the arm move again.
The participant also uses a mobile arm support to support his arm against gravity, but that mobile arm support is also under cortical control, meaning by thinking about it, he causes the mobile arm support to raise and lower his shoulder.
I'm still wowed every time I do something amazing. I ate a pretzel, I drank water. It really got good. One day they had some mashed potatoes. Lo and behold, I was able to eat the mashed potatoes really well.
It provides a demonstration of feasibility so that advances that are needed to make this more clinically acceptable can be made.
There is room for significant growth. We are just at the forefront, really understanding